We're diving into OTAs. Week 3 starts tomorrow. We'll have 3 days. At this point, you're kind of seeing veterans not show up anymore, and that's totally understandable. TJ Watt's flying from every country to every country in Europe, hopefully enjoying his time. George Pickens wasn't there last week. Still haven't seen Cam Hayward. You're just seeing these guys, like Mike Tomlin says, sometimes it's more beneficial for these veterans not to show up because you get a better understanding of the younger guys and the guys who need to adjust to an offense or a defense. And I mean, for us, it's kind of given us an opportunity to see guys like Anthony Everett and Beanie Bishop and, what they can do in the slot cornerback role and have an understanding of, maybe it's not the best. Cordell Patterson doesn't show up and you're watching Scotty Miller and Van Jefferson and Quez Watkins, Marquez Callaway, just looking at it going, okay, who's making noise, who's not making noise, how can you do these things? I think it helps tremendously to kind of put your eyes when the veterans are not there, especially when guys like Russ and Justin are on the field, which helps because you get to see what they look like, what these guys look like when an actual quarterback is leading the way. We're heading into week 3, 3 days, 3 final days of OTAs, and then minicamp will start next week. Who is your one guy? What is your one name that you have your eye on when we get back to the South Side tomorrow?
Yeah, my name is Peyton Wilson, who I didn't get a ton of chances to watch during week 1. Started to notice him a bit more during week 2, and that's where he kind of jumped off the page, especially as a coverage guy. I think we knew about his speed, and that really showed up when these guys, aren't in pads and everything, but he's being left out there on an island in 7-on-7 drills, having to cover Pat Frymuth, having to cover slot receivers, and he held up really well. I was pretty impressed with that element of his game. So I just think in a world where, Cole Holcomb's still recovering from his injury,
Yep.
It's a little bit of a question mark when he's going to actually be ready. I think there's a possibility that he's maybe not ready for week 1. And that's a big moment that's a big question for Peyton Wilson's development. Is he going to have to be, ready to be a contributor behind it? Like, he's their inside linebacker 3 right now.
Yep.
With Cole Holcomb not there. I would say, all the respect in the world to Mark Robinson, but don't think he's out in front of Peyton Wilson at this point. So I think, seeing how Wilson develops, seeing if he's ready for, that rotation role right away, week 1, first game of his NFL career, is he going to be ready to go? Is he going to be a capable backup for the Steelers, especially, when defenses try to spread them out? Because, you look at him versus a Landon Roberts, like, who are you more comfortable covering in space? I would say Peyton Wilson at this point. Like, you could maybe use him in some special situations. You could maybe make him a regular part of the defense, but he's got to show some stuff during OTAs and then use that as a springboard into training camp before I think you feel real confident about throwing him out there as your kind of inside linebacker 3.
I like that. I like Peyton Wilson a lot. I think that's a name that he hasn't been like under the radar, but there's so much going on right now that you're not staring at what pace Peyton Wilson does, but he looks good. He looks the part. That's the thing, is you watch him walking around in the locker room, you see him on the field. A lot of these rookies come in and you're like, oh, you're tiny. You're not built for the position yet. You got this development, that development. Peyton Wilson walks out there and you're like, that guy looks like a linebacker. Looks like he could do this. He looks like he's got the size and the speed to make this work. I agree with you. I don't have expectations for Cole Holcomb yet. I hope that he's out there for week 1, but I don't think anybody can expect him to be out there for week 1 just yet. Peyton Wilson's going to take on a much bigger role than maybe he was believed to take on when they drafted him or when we went into this offseason, and that is significant. You want to know how good that is. And I think that's for a number of reasons. For one, Landon Roberts is a phenomenal linebacker, and I think he is one of the most underrated guys, maybe in the AFC, because what he did last year was unbelievable. Yeah. But he's not a guy that you're going to put out there for all 3 downs. He's not a guy that you're going to put out there for passing downs. You want Peyton Wilson to develop into that guy. Peyton Wilson's been working at the dime, which is significant. And if he's that role, I want to see how far he could take those steps, how early he can progress. I think that's big as well. So I agree with you. I think Peyton Wilson is a big name for the Pittsburgh Steelers and an exciting one. Like, you talk about the rookies right now, and Roman Wilson is a guy, and Logan Lee is a guy, Troy Fautanu and Zach Frazier, cool, exciting, but what's all right, cool, that was awesome. Looked really good, man. It looked really fluid. Peyton Wilson's a dude that sleeps. He's a sleeper in that group, but also has probably a chance to make just as big of an impact as any of them. And I agree with you. I'd like to see what he brings. My name is, I don't know. I I have two of them. I'll toss. I know it's the one name, and my first one is like the name one name. My second one is like this is a generic corny answer that shouldn't count. So, but you have to toss it out there anyways. My first one is Darnell Washington. I'm
Okay.
very
Yeah.
interested to see what Darnell Washington continues to bring to the Steelers. I mean, you talked to him the other day. He was talking about how he's developing as a pass catcher and a route runner and how he's more involved in the offense. He sees a breakout year coming for himself. I want to see everything that Darnell Washington can bring to the Pittsburgh Steelers and how much he really can develop in year two, because I think he is the tight end two for the Steelers, and I think he's a phenomenal run blocker. And I mean, that role alone, I think, is worthy of praise. But if he's looking to be more involved in the passing game, let's see it. I want to really keep my eye on Darnell Washington and see what he's capable of doing, because again, you're watching these pass catchers and you're watching Pat Fryermuth, you're watching Calvin Austin, you're watching Quez Watkins and Van Jefferson and Scotty Miller because and Roman Wilson, because you don't know who's going to emerge. You're not keeping your eye on Darnell Washington. I would like to see what Darnell Washington brings to the table.
Yeah, and if you're going to unlock the best parts of Darnell Washington's game, which is his abilities as a run blocker, he's a mountain of a man. Like,
yes,
if you're going to get that best part of him, he has to be able to catch the football. You can't just leave him out there. You can't just sub him in and out whenever you're going to run the football. Like, that's too obvious. It exposes him, exposes the offense. He's got to be a threat in multiple ways for him to be a real regular part of the offense in the way that I think he's hoping to. So, he said he's improving as a route runner, like you said. I would love to see that. This is the time to show it, I think, really, is show off the agility when everyone's not in pads and everything like that. And then once you do that, remind us that you are this imposing run blocker once you do get those pads on and you can show off your power and you can show off your size. That's the key for Darnell Washington. Like, these are a pretty big next couple weeks for him to be able to show that not only are his hands a little bit better, but his route running, he's able to get open. He's able to, like I said, just be a complete offensive player, not just kind of a one-trick pony in the way that he was during his rookie season.
I agree. My second name is a very generic, corny name, doesn't count, whatever. Justin Fields. Justin Fields took a pretty big step forward last week, I think. I think week one, He was very sporadic, all over the place. It was, that was a abysmal throw to Justin Fields just did something pretty cool, and I think Russell Wilson has been pretty consistent the entire time. I want to see Justin Fields go back-to-back consistent weeks. That's what I want of Justin Fields. I want every day to watch Justin Fields go, all right, there were less crazy throws there, more accuracy, this or that. I want to see a better week out of Justin Fields every week that passes, and my eyes will obviously be glued to him, because anybody who's out there, you're watching Russ, but you kind of know what to expect from Russ. When Justin Fields is out there running the offense, I think everybody pays a little bit more attention. And sometimes it's like, oh, that was awesome. And sometimes you're like, ooh, that was rough. And I want to see ooh, that was rough, go away.
Yeah. Yeah, you absolutely see all the best parts of Fields' potential out there.
Yes.
But you want to see him, like, let's put this potential into, real positive plays. Let's, keep the ball off the ground a little bit more. Let's make some good decisions. That's the stuff that I think you're really looking for in week two. I thought he kind of showed some signs that he was developing a little bit more chemistry with his receivers. Yep. There were, fewer kind of timing mistakes and things like that. But you just want to see that take another step forward. Now I want to see, like you said, the consistency is the biggest thing with Fields. Like, we know what the talent is. We know what kind of potential that he has, but you need to actually, string positive plays together, string drives together. That's the other thing. Like, we haven't seen really either of these quarterbacks challenged in a kind of, game-like scenario, where the consistency is the most important thing, where you can't fall behind the sticks at all, can't create negative plays. I would just, right now is when the consistency is really, really important, and it's only going to get even more important as practices ramp up, the intensity gets ramped up, and the practices get a little bit more serious.
Yeah, this is the time of year where everybody should look good. Mike Tomlin says it all the time. If you look bad right now, that's an issue. And I think quarterback's a very difficult position, but also right now you should look pretty good, especially if you're guys like Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. And I'm not saying they've looked bad. Neither of them have looked bad by no means. They're both in the category of good. I want to see Justin Fields get a little bit better every single day that passes.